Hello, this is J.D. Stevens, and I want to welcome you to the Young Writers Hymn Writing Series. This is Lesson 10, entitled Start Completely Over, and also Your First Draft is Due in a Week. So you're 10 lessons into this workshop series, and you've put in a lot of hard work following this method of writing. If you find yourself stuck with a detailed outline of something you don't really care about anymore, or you're struggling to make the leap from thoughts to poetry, you're not alone. In fact, it's almost expected. Others have experienced the same thing, and that's why this lesson is in the series. Maybe this is a bad time to bring this up, but what I've asked you to do for the last 9 lessons is probably not the best way to write a song. The problem is, you're learning writing from an engineer. Yes, it's my job, but more than that, it's part of who I am. I wear many hats as an engineer, but one of them is called systems engineering. In systems engineering, we're concerned about the process, making sure that the things we're doing now lead to the desired outcomes in the end. We start with the end or purpose in mind and work backward. It's a proven process and yields reliable results. I found this methodical approach to be useful far beyond engineering, like organizing curriculum for children's Bible classes, where I thought about the long-term goals of what we want the children to have learned by the time they graduate high school. Then I worked backward from there to see how to accomplish those learning objectives with the resources of teachers, time, materials, and content, and young growing minds, and identify topics and sequences to meet those objectives. In a similar way, I unintentionally engineered the songwriting process. Non-engineers will look at this and scoff and say, songwriting is an art. You can't engineer it. And I'll sort of agree with them. Its highest form of art can't be engineered. One reason I think that, one reason I'd agree with them is because besides being an engineer, I'm also a musician. Specifically, among other things, I've been a jazz drummer and vibraphonist. My favorite aspect of jazz is improvisation, especially in a group. Collaborative composing in real time is so much fun and yields results that you could never arrive at using a purely methodical method. It's an art, and although it does require training and fundamentals, and your level of talent can be grown through effort and practice, I'm convinced not everyone can do it. Just like there are many things I could never do because I don't have the talent for them. The artistry aspect of songwriting is a problem for me in the Young Writers Workshop because my objective is not to teach artists, musicians, and poets to write songs. My goal is to teach everyone to write songs who loves the Lord and wants to express that through original compositions. I'm a bit like Chef Gusteau in Ratatouille, who said, everyone can cook. Sure, not everyone has the talent to be a great artist, but I do think everyone has the potential to write a song. And I can say this, I believe anyone who follows this songwriting method can produce a song at the end, and a good one at that. Now, my goal is not to help you produce the best song ever written. For starters, this is just an introductory workshop, not a masterclass. And furthermore, each person's talents and abilities in songwriting do vary. Not everyone has the same potential. Then you stack on top of that the fact that I am not the best songwriter, nor the best teacher, so I don't know that I could lead you to write the best song. Guiding you to write the next song that will endure for millennia around the world isn't my goal, though. Rather, my goal is to help anyone with the interest and commitment in writing a song to be able to write something that helps them express spiritual thoughts from their heart to God and to others. And in my experience, this method will do that. Every step along the way is something basically anyone can do. Can you think of one topic to write about? Can you study to see what the Bible says on that topic? Can you identify what you want to tell someone on that topic? Can you organize your thoughts, identify perspective, choose some figures of speech and important words, use a thesaurus and a rhyming dictionary and count syllables? All these things are just practical things that most anyone can do. If you can do those, then you can write a song. Here's my evidence for that. My first 2 times teaching songwriting were with groups of students with only one qualification. They were in the high school Bible class in Benchley, Texas, the quarter that we studied the book of Psalms. That's it. These students weren't handpicked for their talent or interest in songwriting. They just did the assignments because they and their parents were committed to them participating. And in the end, every one of them wrote a song, and every song expressed something unique and meaningful from their hearts. As a bonus, these songs have also been useful in edifying others in public settings, although that isn't my primary objective for the Young Writers series. Lord willing, this will continue every few years as a new group comes along. I recognize the data set is a fairly small statistical sample of the general population, but early indicators are that basically anyone with a good heart who puts in the work can write a song with this approach. Now, about those songs. When it comes to writing songs, what you are doing in this workshop has been a paradox. On the one hand, this method is overtly focused on the core purpose of songwriting, perhaps more so than you might have thought be possible before, that like songwriting is that focused. We started lesson 1 with purpose, and everything is built on that foundation. This is because I'm determined that what comes out is connected to the general purpose of songwriting and your own specific purpose in writing a song in particular. On the other hand, the process you followed has been so methodical that it can be overly dispassionate, objective, and analytical to the point of separating your heart from your purpose. And there's the irony. Following this method, you aren't artfully releasing a hymn from your soul as much as you are engineering a song and bolting it together into a solid and functional, but maybe not so beautiful structure. So, I'm sorry that I've brought you to this point. So, I said it. I've got it off my chest and I feel better. But you probably don't feel better if you're in this state of songwriting because you slog through all these tedious assignments and have this cold, sterile, lifeless outline of a song and can't figure out where to go with it. What are you going to do now? You have a glorified essay on your hands that says some good stuff, but doesn't say it in a way that's meaningful or impactful. And at this point, the grind of the writing method has scrubbed away any emotion and passion that you originally wanted to communicate to someone singing or hearing your song. Oddly enough, I worked with 2 groups of students who were just part of a Bible class, and I never noticed this before, nor did they that I know of. I first realized this problem with my 3rd group, and this group was different. They were all volunteers who wanted to write. I just put out the word that I was going to teach a class on songwriting, and they joined in, they volunteered. They were still all teenagers like the first 2 groups, but this time it wasn't required. They gave up their time voluntarily on Sunday afternoons for months to meet in person or virtually in the summer of 2022. And they spent time outside of those workshops writing and refining, all because they wanted to. You would think of any students, these would have the least problems with losing connection to the soul of their song. They were passionate about songwriting, but I think that's why it showed up. They were so committed to the effort, the limitations of the process started showing, especially as we worked these details of the methodical approach more rigorously and thoroughly than the other groups had. One particular afternoon, I remember watching these students. 2 of them were really struggling with the transition that you're at right now. They had content, solid, scriptural, important content, and they had strong structural form, but they were having trouble turning it into poetry, into lyrics for a song. And that's when it hit me. We had been engineering songs. And these 2 writers in particular are very task-oriented, so they had executed the assignments rigorously. I can say engineering is good for producing reliable outcomes, but it isn't intended to make you care about it. And you have to care about what you're writing for this step from outline to lyrics to happen well. What I told them is what I'm about to tell you. If you find yourself feeling out of touch with your song, burned out, stagnant, or stuck, here's what I recommend. Go back to the beginning. Go back before coarse and fine outlines, even before dividing between theme and message. Go back to your purpose and your inspiration. Remember what it was you were excited to put into song when you first thought of the topic you eventually selected. Think of details too. Where were you specifically, geographically? What time of day was it? What prompted you to think that should be a song? Why was that topic important to you? What sermon were you listening to, or what relationship were you dealing with? What feelings did you want to remind yourself of for personal songs, or create in others for public songs? What exactly, precisely, did you care about? Why were you so excited for this topic? Nail that down. Now, after trashing the methodology I've led you through, here's where the process does redeem itself. Everything to this point has not been about writing your song. It's been about preparing you to write your song. You started with an empty toolbox, and what we've been doing is filling it full of tools to convert those thoughts and feelings into words and structures and flows of thought to give direction to your writing. We could have started right in on writing a song, throwing down lines, but you weren't ready then. You would have hit a few lines quickly, but it would have been difficult to connect that to clarity of purpose. It would have been difficult to flesh it out into an entire song. You could have leaned a few boards together, but you would have lacked the floor plan to make it make sense. Then you would have lacked the hammer and the nails to make it solid, and chisels and sandpaper to shape it and refine it and make it beautiful. But as it is, you are now ready to write, and you just need to reconnect where you started. So take a deep breath, internalize and clarify your why, your purpose. Then re-examine where you are with your song. As an example, one student was generally writing about the joys of heaven and had a few particular things in mind. Mind you, this was a second-time writer who had done a really good job with her first song in the second group of Bible class students. Her first song had some very strong poetry and heart, and honestly it had good structure too, but that came more at the end. But in this second song, she found herself disconnected from the origin of her song. When she reached this point of getting stuck, we talked about the event that precipitated her idea for the current song, her inspiration. It was a sleepover with other teenage Christian girls, and they were daydreaming late into the night about what it will be like in heaven. That is what she wanted others to experience when they sing her song, that event, that occasion. In her songwriting process, she had drifted into, here are some facts about heaven. She was reciting some of the things they talked about. But her song idea was not the things they talked about, it was them talking about it. So she realized her song idea wasn't just about heaven, it was about the shared anticipation of heaven. Although those two topics are related, they're not the same. And so rather than another song that describes heaven, she came to realize it should be more like Sing to Me of Heaven. In fact, that similarity was only discovered at that point because of the additional clarity that she found. With that realization, she rediscovered the heart of her song. She had poignancy, and she cared about it again. Note that the facts related in the song before and after this refresh happened didn't really change much. The facts about heaven, those didn't change that much, but the way she talked about them did. It became a song for here and now, not just the future. It became a song of community and brotherly love, not just a song looking forward to blessings. If you have a strong outline, but you're daunted by the idea of turning it into something singable, poetic, artistic, emotional, and beautiful, don't give up. You're just below the top of the hill. But once you crest it, it will start rolling. Yes, there's still a lot of work ahead, hard work, but you'll find clarity, and the effort will be simpler, clearer, and more technical in nature. You'll be working to get good rhymes and maintain good meter without destroying your message with distorted grammar, but you'll know what you want to say, and you'll know how you want to say it. So take a step back, review your purpose. You wrote it down, remember. Think about what you want to say. And if you discover that you will need to throw everything out that you've written and start completely over, don't panic or despair like I've got to do nine lessons worth of work again. Just do it. Start over with your writing if you have to. You may find, if you do that you can write an entire draft of your song in a very short period of time once you get reconnected to your purpose, because you've already done the work. As another student said around this point in the process one time, I was working on the chorus and accidentally wrote another song. It turned out that accidental song was what she completed. It seems like it happened just like that, but really it was building up through all the work she had put in throughout the several weeks leading to that point. I'm not going to give you any hints at this point on how to be poetic, how to write with beautiful language, etc. You can go back and review the lesson on poetic language if you want. But what I want you to do right now is just try writing your song. Don't worry about being methodical or hyper-focused on structure or polishing it up or whatever. You've been training your mind to think that way subconsciously already. Just write. Throw in some bad rhymes on the fly. You can come back and clean them up later. Throw in placeholder filler words that you know are weak. Say filler word as the filler word if you need to. Use something, the word something, if you don't know what word goes there. Just write. Try to get it out there. You can come back and you can strengthen them later, but for now, just start writing. Your assignment for this week is simple. Write the first draft of your song and have fun doing it. That's it for this lesson. I hope you enjoy this process and I hope you enjoy reconnecting to the heart of your song. I want this series to be useful to anyone interested in writing a hymn, so please give me feedback in the comments. Up next is Lesson 11, Rhythm and Meter. Some people are naturals at this. Some struggle more to feel the sense of rhythm. But regardless of your rhythmic talent, after the next lesson, you'll have the tools that you need to make sure your rhythms are singable and not disjointed. If you've never used a spreadsheet to write a song, get ready. You're going to love it. Thank you for watching, and may the words of your mouth and the meditation of your heart be acceptable in the sight of the Lord.